Hi guys, I'm Sarah Hall, and today I wanted to share with you some messages that I have received from Spirit, along with some insights that I came to in reflecting on those messages. And the main theme of this message is that non-judgment is the true key to happiness. Non-judgment grants us the freedom to experience boundlessly healthy relationships with others and with ourselves. Now, I'll tell you how I came to this message. I came to this message on non-judgment recently while I was driving, and someone cut me off on the road, and of course, my initial reaction was, oh my gosh, how could they drive so dangerously and so inconsiderately? I'm upset, blah, blah, blah. Well, that mood kind of just stuck with me after that. And later, I noticed myself continuing to think judgmental thoughts towards others, and the energy got heavier. I noticed that this sort of judgmental negative thought pattern was just continuing to snowball, and I certainly wasn't having a very pleasant day, wasn't having a good experience at all. When suddenly I heard a voice inside say, "It's time to let it go. Practice non-judgment and be free." So I took a deep breath, gathered up all of those judgmental thoughts from earlier, and just exhaled them with the thought, I release this. Let me enter into a state of non-judgment. Then I spent several moments just allowing the present moment to really shine and come alive all around me. And in the quiet and simplicity of the present moment, I felt that life was beautiful. Suddenly, a whole new perspective dawned on me. Each judgmental thought I had held was a thought that I was really holding against myself. And then the angels chimed in and communicated to me that the way that you treat others, even if it's just in the field of your own mental space, is the way that you treat yourself. We are all absolutely one, and your perception of others can really serve as a mirror image of what is inside of you. So no matter how wrong you think another person is, there is always a better response to what you seem to be perceiving than taking on that burden of judgment. Because through judging another person, in effect, you're attaching to their negativity that you observe, and then it becomes your negativity. Or in other words, you are now carrying that burden. It's your burden to carry. So choosing non-judgment in the face of discomfort or adversity in life will always, always, always give you the better option, because it can allow you to soar into the heights of love and compassion. And through compassion, it is possible to adopt a much higher perspective of a situation that is rich with the understanding of perhaps where healing and resolution might fit into that situation. And furthermore, I think that it's important to understand that we all share in the same energy, and that energy is all around us. When you allow yourself to adopt a mindset of judgment or negativity, that energy is magnified for all those around you. And yes, in a sense, you might just be acting as an echo for someone else's seeming negative state. In other words, you didn't start the fire, but through judgment, you're giving it space to continue to grow in you. And we don't want that. Now, on the other hand, if the negativity stops with you, or in other words, if you choose to release attachment to negativity through observing it with non-judgment and even compassion, you can raise the energy of those around you without them even knowing it. that invisible force field of consciousness and energy in which we are all united and participants of it, that energy can suddenly become lighter, freer, and more focused on allowing our true, natural state of divine love. And just one person holding space for that love to come in is a gift for absolutely everyone. Now, Spirit also communicated to me that judgment creates very addictive mental patterns. In other words, it can be easy for us to crave and seek out judgmental attitudes or drama and conflict-based negativity with others because the ego loves the feeling of validating itself and making itself righteous by making someone else wrong. All that this will ever accomplish is deepening and expanding the ego's hold on your mind. The mind of the ego is the mind of fear and separation. The mind of fear and separation is the opposite of your original divine nature as a being of pure love, connected in unity to all that is. And so if you desire to live in the consciousness of divine truth, in which you can sense and experience the unlimited, unified, and love-based nature of reality, then it is important to eradicate the pattern of judgment from our thought cycles. And remember that the thoughts and focuses that you choose have a way of setting precedents in your life. Remember that the human mind loves patterns and cycles. So what you put into your mind, you're probably likely to repeat because each thought makes an imprint, like a footprint etched into the sand. So in the same way that one judgmental reaction of mine in my situation with the other driver influenced a mood pattern of similar judgmental thoughts for me, your judgmental thoughts can color or influence your thinking for the rest of the day, or perhaps even set an overtone in your life. But when you choose non-judgment, you open the door to love and to a perspective that is closer to that of heaven, we'll say. So there's this Buddhist story that I once read that I actually would love to share at this point because I think that it perfectly illustrates this particular idea. So there was once two monks. One was old and one was young, and they were traveling to a village very far from their monastery. In the mountains where they lived, there were only really small trails between the villages. There weren't any strong roads, and there were very few bridges over the streams. And it was spring when they were traveling, so many of the streams had become very swollen with water and dangerous to cross after the melting of the winter snow. After walking a distance, the two monks came upon a fast-moving stream where a young woman stood on the bank, afraid to cross. The young monk reminded himself that he had vowed never to touch anyone of the opposite sex. So he nodded to the young woman as he passed her by and just carefully began to cross the stream. But to the young monk's surprise, the elder monk sped right past him, carrying the young woman in his arms. When the old monk put her down on the far shore, she bowed respectfully to him in thanks, and not saying a word in reply, the older monk gave her a smile, and he went on his way. The two monks continued on their journey, but as they walked on, the young monk considered and reconsidered the old monk's actions back at that stream. And with each passing mile that they walked, his thoughts grew angrier and angrier until hours later, he stopped in his tracks and he was flushed with rage. He shouted and he sputtered at the old monk and he said, "You broke your sacred vows. You were never to touch a woman. How could you? How can you forgive yourself? You shouldn't be allowed to return to our monastery." So, surprised at the outburst, the older monk turned to face the young monk, and he said, "I put that woman down hours ago. Have you been carrying her all this time?" I really love that story. I think that it shows us how attachment to judgment can really affect us over time and become a burden, like a burden we're carrying. So choose to practice non-judgment. And it does take practice. You might not be perfect at it at first. I know I'm certainly not. But the more you begin to practice the act of observing and releasing attachment to judgmental thoughts, the more freedom, happiness, and possibility there seems to come into your awareness. And remember, freedom from judgment brings a higher perspective and more of that compassion. That loving compassion can help to create healthier relationships in your life with others and, as we said, with your relationship with yourself. Because if each judgmental thought that you attach to becomes like an attack upon your own self, then to practice non-judgment is an act of strengthening your self-love, and thereby your capacity to give and to receive love from others. Non-judgment is incredibly helpful in navigating challenges in your relationships too when challenges arise. It helps you to see which lessons, actions, or behaviors are your responsibilities in the situation and which are the responsibility of your friend, family member, or partner to learn and to figure out. Non-judgment helps you to clear your relationships as well of grudges or unforgiveness or other blockages so that you can heal and uplift the standard in the relationship to a healthy and loving one. Now, this certainly doesn't mean that you should ever become a doormat and cease in using your discernment with others, but it provides an excellent means to create real depth in the capacity for us to love, to trust, to forgive, to heal, and to open ourselves to another. Your ability to love, trust, forgive, and grow close with another is so contingent upon the way that you are treating yourself. So if you love yourself truly in such a way that is perhaps aided along with the practice of non-judgment, then your confidence and your faith never really has to falter from feeling and knowing that in divine truth, everything is always perfect. That there is always a loving, happy solution for everything you face in this life without exception. And furthermore, it is worth mentioning that when you practice non-judgment, you'll begin to attract like-minded people in your life who choose to live in a similar way as well. And that works out for everybody. Now, one other message that I received from the angels on non-judgment is on how it affects our energy body. I was actually recently asked, how does one shield oneself from the negative energy of other people who are being judgmental, competitive, or otherwise negative? And right away, without fail, I heard the angels respond and say, respond with non-judgment and non-attachment to those who believe and live in that way. Your energy is naturally protected by the high vibrations that you attract and for which you're then holding space when you practice compassionate non-judgment. In other words, as you practice non-judgment, higher energies that are associated with love, happiness, and also with loving spiritual beings such as the angels makes its imprint on your energy patterns. The more you practice non-judgment, the more deeply those energy patterns become etched into your being, into the way that your energy cycles work. thereby making it very difficult for another person's negativity to pull you off track, or maybe even to cause a blip on your radar. And why? This is because you've literally vibrationally risen above that. And I'd like to share that the image that the angels showed me to kind of illustrate this was that through the practice of conscientious non-judgment, this high vibration becomes like a giant light-imbued force field. And the way that I saw it, as the angels showed me, was that they became petals of a lotus flower. Each imprint you make upon yourself through this practice becomes a new petal in that lotus flower until your entire being is surrounded in a giant, beautiful, supportive lotus flower energy structure, and you can float on it. The image was so beautiful and seemed to show such impeccably pure energetic protection from any energy that was not a vibrational match for the one within that protective sphere. So if you notice others becoming judgmental, negative, competitive, dramatic, simply stand your ground. Remain in your very present, non-attached, non-judgmental, loving, and compassionate state. There's never really a need to dive into attachment to the negativity of others and therefore to lower your energy. If you simply maintain your state of non-judging presence and love, you'll be like an open instrument for divine truth to live and breathe and become readily accessible to others on this planet. Oftentimes, when your vibration also is strong enough, loving and strong enough, others will naturally rise into your frequency. So there is no need to really concern yourself with the negative opinions of others. There is no need to try to defend yourself in the face of such things. Yes, again, it is important to maintain strong, healthy boundaries in your relationships in which you're upholding your self-respect and living harmoniously and happily in your life. But it is possible to put those boundaries into place without attaching to others' negativity or giving in to judgmental thinking in the process. The most important thing that you can do is to cultivate a mindset of compassion for all beings, because you are one and the same, irreversibly part of all beings, of everything in this world. This compassion helps bring true light into the world. Non-judgment is then like a window through which you're able to glimpse the highest of spiritual truths, so that you can really trust what this practice has to offer you infinitely farther than you can trust the temptation to attach to judgmental thinking. Because non-judgment is an incredibly powerful pillar in the pursuit of non-attachment to the ego, or non-attachment to that mind of fear and limitation. If our consciousness creates our reality, as many of us say and think and know, just imagine a world in which your mind is immersed in the knowledge of how truly unlimited, beautiful, and love-filled everything is. Non-judgment is truly a window into your spiritual identity as a piece of God. So practice it through your daily thinking and in meditation, and I really think that you will love the results. So thank you so much for watching this video, and know until next time, as always, that you are so loved and so very blessed. Bye!